Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started here? It's 8:47. Let's get rolling. No, it's not. It's 8:38. I was looking at the screenshot of that thing. It says 6:47, and I was very confused. It's not 6:47. It's 8:40. It's 8:38. Okay. Okay. I just want to say, looking forward to today. If you didn't get the swag that dentist advisors brought, there's a pen. Gel pen. A gel pen. This isn't just any pen. Lip balm. Tattoos. Deodorant. And a tee for golfing. I love it. I love it.
You just said you got your desk, dude. What? You just said you got your desk.
These are also really good for scraping the snow out of your skate ski boots if you need to.
Yeah, probably better than golf. I probably use that more than I would golf. Before I introduce the speakers today, which we have a really fun presentation this morning from Dr. Buck Drew and Becky Drew. But before I do that, I want to turn some time over to Lindsay to present the trophy for the pickleball champion. Lindsay.
I wasn't lying. Yes. Thank you. On behalf of Elevation Association, I would like to present this absolutely exquisite trophy. It is prestigious. To the most winningest couple in pickleball history. You know them. You love them. In the world. Get up here, Buck and Becky Drew! World champions. If you didn't know, this $10 Amazon trophy says so.
This is great. I didn't even know we were keeping score.
You won the most games, and you have possession. You have possession of it until next year. Be prepared to defend your title. Be good stewards.
The beauty about hosting a tournament is you get to pick whoever wins, and so we picked you guys. Thank you. So for today, let me introduce Dr. Buck and Becky Drew. Many of you have had the chance now to talk with them and get to know them a little bit. Dr. Drew had an incredibly successful practice in Sun Valley, Idaho, probably one of the first, I don't know about first, but one of the prominent cosmetic practices in the country back in the 80s and 90s. And he and his partner would have people fly in from all over the world, similar to Dr. Heaton and Dr. Allen, to do some veneers, some early cosmetic procedures. And Dr. Drew has a story. He's owned a couple of practices and sold them. And after he sold that practice, he had a 5-year non-compete. And after that 5-year non-compete, he decided he wanted to practice a little bit more. And I happened to be in the Valley as well, so Dr. Drew and I practiced together. And he would come in and mentor me as a young practice owner, and I learned a lot from him and gleaned a lot of information from him, really looked to him as a mentor. So he's going to take some time this morning, share some thoughts that he learned and some reflections on retiring early and often. Dr. Drew and Becky.
Thank you, Jared. So just to start this off, Becky and I made a routine hygiene appointment last fall. We come in to get our teeth cleaned at Wood River Dental. And I think it was November. I was lying in the hygiene chair rather innocently. And I was asked, do you wish an exam? I go, no, I see enough of those guys. Thank you anyway. But I can't remember if it was Dan or Jared that walked in, my jaws agape, and I really can't respond. But let's say it was Jared. He says, hey, Buck, we're holding a couples leadership conference in February. you ought to attend and you ought to speak. And I go, and he says, good, I'll take that as a yes. And so that's why we're here today. And I say we, because initially this was Buck Drew discussing retirement. And Becky helped me prepare for this, and we realized, no, this is us. This is an us thing. And I think you'll enjoy hearing Becky's take on retirement and her reflections. Notice how we're using the word reflections. This is not a how-to. This is what we did. We are you 20 years ago. Or something, you get it. You're where we were. And maybe some of these ideas you can incorporate. And I have spoken to my peers over the years and given them little tidbits of advice and slightly changed their thinking with the primary goal to make you comfortable with the coming years and retirement. Becky, do you have anything to say before we move on? Okay, so are you all comfortable in your chairs? Because I know they're hard. What we're going to do is for 10 minutes, we're going to step outside and we're going to do a quick exercise that Lindsay doesn't have to lead. Don't worry, you won't be sweating. And tell me a year from now if this isn't your takeaway. But we're all going to step outside right now. And I'm sorry, those of you eating, but you can come back. We'll be right back. We're going to step outside, and we're going to split up into groups. Here's the deal. Becky, you come with me. We're going to make this simple. You see the flags on the lawn. Here's our thinking. Those two flags are the beginning, or in this case, 0 years. This is number 20. 10 couldn't penetrate the bricks. So we got 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, all the way to 90. And that's where Ryan is standing at 90. This depicts a lifetime. Now Mark said the other day that he uses 78 as an average age of expiration or death. Well, we're using 90 to 100. That period is that garden out there. That if you reach that, you're on your own. That's the Garden of Eden. But just for argument's sake, where Jared is standing, that's 0. Where Becky is, that's 20. So Becky, tell them how we're going to divide up the groups.
So we want initially the non-dentist half of the spouse, or if you don't have a spouse, then come on out. The non-dentist half, go stand at the average age right now of you and your spouse.
So take an average of you and your spouse, and there's 30, 40, so it'll be somewhere around 50. And you'll face
Face Ryan.
But the camera's looking this way.
Okay, you can face this
You can
way.
face whatever way you want. Spread out, guys. Stretch across. Stretch across. Okay, where are you, Matt? You're at 30. You're at 28. Okay. You're right. You're just so young.
Just a young pup.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you see how this works? Matt's at 38.
How old is Matt?
38.
The average between us?
Okay. Okay. Now the dental,
Oh, yeah.
the dentist part of the couple, you got your average age there, where you are now. Move ahead to what you anticipate your retirement age to be. Just for fun, move to where you wish to find practicing dentistry optional.
Oh, optional? Or
Yeah.
retirement?
Or retired. However you want to define retirement. Now, the idea is, you see where this is going. You look back at your spouse, and that's the amount of time, say, I'm just going to pick on Jared and Marin here. This is the amount of time they have left to plan for their retirement.
I got this.
So you see, look back at your spouse. Raise your hand.
My spouse is in here.
Okay, raise your hand.
Mine's not here.
Okay, who's got a spouse here?
That far apart in years.
Okay, so that's a period of time you two to have the plan. But it's significant because you look forward from where you are on your retirement line, and this is how the time span you're going to enjoy your retirement. This is what we're planning for up until here. Now, just for fun, Becky, stand where we retired. What age? 52. Okay. And now Buck is, what's this? Is this 70?
This is 70.
At 70? Okay, so now I'm with you. So from Becky to Buck has been our retirement so far. That's why we're experts. So from Becky to Buck is our retirement. So you guys we're giving you a crystal ball. Our retirement's a little different because I just looked at Ryan. I think I can handle this. Anyway, we just wanted to give you a visual of what a life is like because we're all mortal. We can't change that. You spend another dollar, you won't get another moment of time on this planet, time on this earth. But remember this, that you're looking forward at your lifespan. So how are we going to spend it? Now we can go back in unless you have a closing.
I was just going to say to pay attention to how much time it took you to get to where you are now. If you look behind you, and then how much time you have left, and then look at where you are now compared to where you want to retire.
Okay, thank you all for participating. I hope you found the meaning in that little exercise. Again, to pick on Dr. Hill, he came by our dinner table last night. Becky and I were having dinner, and he said, you two are eating alone. And I said, yes, we're having champagne celebrating. And he goes, what are you celebrating? And I said, well, we'll tell you tomorrow. And it's interesting. Becky and I have been thinking about this presentation for weeks. And it's been in our head, but it wasn't until last night that we were walking to dinner and we realized, do you realize, Becky, it's been exactly 20 years to this week that we stepped out of the clinic, bought an airline ticket to St. Martin's, and we're in a beach resort much like this. But that was 20 years ago this week. So that's where this is coming from.
And it's been an amazing ride. You got a lot to look forward to.
Now, excuse us. The first part, I might do a little reading because I don't want to miss any words, but then we'll get into the more ad lib aspects. But the point is, we have a few ideas that dental practitioners and their spouses should consider while in your 40s. And you may love your work. Your staff may respect and adore you. Your patients may not know any other dentist exists. Still, there will come a time, whether you create it or it happens to you, when you think of slowing down and letting it all go. So for the sake of argument, let's define retirement. Retirement can mean selling your practice, taking the proceeds, investing, and living the good life. But I can tell here, you all are living the good life right now, and that's to your credit. But dropping an 8-to-5 obligation does free one up for longer adventures, travel, or otherwise. Yet if the freedom to enjoy life is what you're after, and you can remain satisfied while maintaining a practice, more power to you. Keep the practice. In that instance, retirement would be defined, say, as having the freedom to determine your own schedule. Retire in your mind, reduce the stress, cut back your hours, like Jared and Dan are doing. That's saying a lot. Jared and Dan, with Ryan's help, obviously, have begun this process of paring down their hours. So for simplicity of this presentation, let's accept the wider definition of retirement to include all dentists able to control their destiny, whether they are working or not. Yet at some point, you're going to cut back. You will need to count on your investments to supplement your income, or like me, you will need to count on your investments at an early age, because after age 52, I did no more investing. It was only extraction, distributions. And just so you understand, Becky and I have no magic key, yet we do have experience to adjusting a lifestyle to match our investment trends. That's important, to have an understanding relationship with your spouse. By past investment, we're coming from the perspective of a retired couple. As you know, it's been 20 years. And we're not going to dwell on investment strategy. That's up to the pros and you. We assume that you're doing some investing now. But what we'd like to do is share some things that we've learned about retiring from perspectives other than investment strategy. And it brings up a short story. Becky and I met about 22, 23 years ago. She introduced me to her family, in particular her father, at about 22 years ago. And he was probably in his 60s and hadn't met this guy named Buck Drew yet. And we were in Minnesota at his home, and he said, Buck, I want to talk to you. I can tell you're serious about my daughter. I want to talk to you. And he says, we've never had a doctor in the family. Tell me, what are your plans? Because if you and Becky, I'm reading between the lines, but if you and Becky are going to hit it off, how are you going to provide for her? And I said to her father, I said, Dick, I just want you to understand, I plan to retire in a year. And he looked at me like I was just crazy. But
Buck was about 50 at that time.
yeah, I was about 50. And of course, yeah, we pulled it off. So this is titled Early and Often. So I'm going to answer why early for me. The profound situation goes back to what Mark was saying at a prior presentation, the death of a loved one. My father died in 2004. The memorial was at the wall of our church in St. Louis, Missouri. And at that memorial, my father's cremated remains were laid to rest in the wall, and Dad was in a box. My wonderful father who gave me life and provided so many experiences and opportunities, here he was in a box at age 78. And I looked at that and I go, I don't have, 25 years. Something's got to change. So that was one instance. The other is a little more fun. Patients would come in. We live in a resort community. They would share their experiences, and these ideas and thoughts would pull me. I go, I can't join you powder skiing tomorrow. I have endodontics to do. And I want to be honest here. These aren't in the notes, but a big reason, I think Jared and Dan are familiar with this, I did not have the partnership these two do. I may not have had the relationship with my cohort in Sun Valley that these two shared. Just to put it in perspective, my partner, he kind of resented me. He was competing with me. I was uncomfortable. If a patient, we took turns, you flip a coin or take turns with new patients coming into the office. If my partner saw, say, the name Willis or Wrigley, somehow that name ended up on his schedule, and I wasn't comfortable, so I said, okay, I'm going to leave. So Becky,
Can I add?
yes,
Another big factor was the man that was in practice right next to them, the
Right.
kind of shared office space. He was an orthodontist. He was a good friend of Buck's, and the two of them talked often and had all these big plans for what they were going to do in retirement. And then he had a fatal car accident. And it really kind of shook Buck up to think, well, this was my buddy I was going to play with, and now he's gone. Am I going to go that same route? Am I going to wait to retire until I can't play anymore? So that was also a factor, and it happened right about the same time that Buck's father died.
yes. So the bottom line is, I decided to retire while I was healthy, and not wait until I had to. Dr. Bedell, who we're talking about, had to retire because he was injured, and he wasn't at all prepared, and he couldn't enjoy retirement.
So I'm going to talk about the why often aspect. We say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but actually Buck has retired several times, and I also went back to work after I sold my business. It was to our great advantage that Buck kept his dental license, so that when we got in a situation when the economy was such that we were a little uncomfortable drawing from our savings, from our investments when they were going down, Buck was able to go back to work and cover that length of time during which the market was down, so we didn't have to draw on it. So that was a big advantage to him hanging on to his dental license. And so that allowed us to withstand market downturns without a lot of angst and without depleting our investments, so that eventually they went back up and we could draw from them again.
Very good.
Anyway, with that, we're saying think a little bit before you let your license go.
So I don't know if you saw the outline of this program, but we're discussing several aspects of what creates a good retirement. Number one on that list is physical health. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but we put physical at the top of our list of priorities because without good health, retirement takes on a whole different meaning. The idea, as you're all very well aware, and we're just confirming, keep your physical health starting now. Go into your retirement as healthy as you can. And the reason for this yoga photo that was taken in Bonaire 2 weeks ago with, this is Jeff Payne, by the way, who discussed Delta Dental, a dentist friend of mine. So do the hard stuff. Yoga is hard for me. I don't know about you guys, but it's hard.
Look how far Buck's knees are from the ground. That's it. That's as far as they go.
Okay, about the glitter shame. That's normal. I see you. I was impressed, actually.
So
You can cross your legs. That's
thank you. You get a star. So you have to do the maintenance, train, and eat right so that you can do the fun stuff. Okay? And this is the fun stuff. This is Becky and Buck. this mountain biking brought us together. This is a photo in Moab. We go down to southern Utah in the shoulder seasons of fall and spring, and we just enjoy riding. And not only is it good exercise and healthy, but it's a bond between Becky and me.
And a nice thing is, the older he gets, the closer I can keep up with him.
Yeah, she's laughing me now. Keep in mind, one thing we learned, that how you take care of yourself now, today, tomorrow, will, just like your teeth, determine what you look like, how you feel 5 years from now. It sounds obvious, but there's such a direct correlation. You may not feel it tomorrow, but you will feel it in 5 years.
I'm just curious if you've always had this mindset, or did you, like, this has been your life? Yeah? Or
It has been my life. Good question.
so
We just
and
rolled
you,
it
Becky,
in.
as well. So when you joined, you got a little bit more when you joined? Okay. And then it became a focus, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I always exercised, but not to the extent Buck did. I more did the things I enjoyed, the hiking, the biking, the skiing, and I didn't do the maintenance, the weightlifting, the yoga, that kind of thing. So it's when I got hooked up with Buck that I got more going with the maintenance. And it's proved very beneficial. One thing it does is lets us enjoy these things to the level that we do without getting injured. And that's,
Yeah.
yeah, we do some pretty gnarly stuff. We're pretty gnarly, even though it doesn't look like it.
Okay, so the takeaway from this photo is that our retirement works because we retired healthy and we work to stay healthy. Actually, I consider it my new job, staying healthy. So that out there on the lawn, when I look ahead to that garden at 90 years, it's achievable. I just want to think it's achievable. So, it's easier. The point is, okay. I got to introduce this photo. Somebody asked, what was your highlight of last year? Yeah. Okay, wait, I got a pointer here. Let me see. So, there it is. So this is the championship cup of a hockey tournament in Boise, Idaho last July. And some of my buddies from Sun Valley and Boise, we participated. And it's important to note, to the sharp eyes, up here, there's the score, 2-1. And the camaraderie and the physicality these tournaments create, it's just so joyous. It's a passion of mine. I'm not a very good player, even and this is a 70-plus division, but I'm fast enough to beat some of the guys to the puck. And to me, it just takes on such significance. I feel like a kid, obviously. But it's easier to stay healthy if you take care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, and socially. And how do you wrap it up? It's all up to you. You have more time to take care of yourself if you have more time. And that's the way I think of retirement. I have time. I should take care of myself, and myself includes Becky. So retirement itself can play huge benefits. It's not all about the money. That's our point.
Another point to be made with this photograph is that, like Buck said, this is a 70 and over tournament, the first of its kind in Idaho. And Buck was instrumental in helping get this 70 and over tournament started because he was playing in the 50 and under?
No, 50 and over.
50 and over. And there got to be a point in time where it just wasn't fun for him anymore because these these guys were faster than him, they were rougher than him. He just felt like he didn't fit in there. And so the point of this photo is that as you age, like we have, your abilities will diminish. But if you maintain your strength, your flexibility, your balance, you can still participate, just at different levels, and they're just as rewarding.
Very good. But with all this, things can go wrong. The coconut can fall from the tree. This is a photo taken when Becky and I volunteered dentistry in Fiji. And it's just to demonstrate, you got to be careful. Things can go wrong. Unexpected things can happen. So taking care of yourself physically will make you more resilient to carry on. I had a good friend, start off as a patient, named Lou Whitaker. He's a renowned mountain climber, started Rainier Mountaineering Incorporated. Dr. Hill got to meet him. Lou just passed away last fall. He lived to be 95, defying death on Everest, defying death all over the world. He finally succumbed at age 95. But while he was alive, he said, Buck, bank your health for the future, like you bank your money, so that you always have something to draw from. So to wrap up this health aspect, if you're going to sweat anything about retirement, if you're going to sweat anything, sweat your health. Okay.
Pun intended.
Okay, Becky, here we go. It's your...
Woohoo! This is very early on. This is actually...
That's Fiji.
That is Fiji, yeah. This is not too long after we retired. So I'm going to talk about relationships. And this is a couples conference, so we thought we'd throw in that part. And our relationship has been the most important factor in our retirement. Before we retired, we had some discussions about what we wanted retirement to look like and how we wanted to pursue it. And fortunately, we were both on the same page. We liked active sports. We wanted to travel. But there is some situations, like I have a sister who, when they retired, all she wanted to do was spend time with the grandkids. Her husband wanted to adventure and travel. And that created a little bit of an issue there. So it would have been good for them to have talked about that prior so they could reach some compromises so they knew what they were getting into. So have those discussions now on what you want it to look like. What do you want your lifestyle to look like? Do you want to have fancy cars and fancy boats and a fancy house and live that lifestyle? Or do you want to pare it down and be off an adventure? So that's a good discussion to have now. We had spent time prior to retirement nurturing shared interests. And so that when we did retire, we'd have these things to fall back on that we already enjoyed together, and we could just carry forward with those at kind of an expanded level. And maybe it's a book club. Maybe it's active pursuits like pickleball or biking or fishing, but invest some time to make your relationship able to carry over well into retirement as a couple, doing things together. We'll flip the slide.
Sure.
So at one point, Buck taught me how to be his assistant so that I could travel with him and actually be involved in the volunteering that we did rather than just be a bystander. And this was a good example of having to have the discussion because he became the teacher and I became the student. And many of you know what it's like to try to teach your spouse something. And that doesn't always work. So we had the discussion beforehand about how did I like to learn, what he expected of me as an assistant, and how we would interact together. And it worked out really well. When we were first in Fiji and we were working on patients, he would say to me, "Babe, I need more suction over here." And I would say, "That's Dr. Babe to you." The other piece of advice or what we found is that we found it very important for each of us to nurture relationships and interests outside of our relationship, not with each other. So Buck has his friends, his bike group friends, his hockey friends. He has his science magazines that he can disappear into for hours. I have my gals biking group, and I have rediscovered my artistic self. This is on the sand dunes at our summer place in Michigan. And I can disappear for hours on the beach making rock mandalas. Or I've started building little fairy houses to hide in the woods for the grandkids. And Buck has been very supportive of me, even though I totally disappear. I'm in another world when I do that. And he's been very supportive. And I, in turn, get to listen to him expound on his great play on every Friday after his hockey tournament, be enthusiastic for him. So we found this is very important to develop some separate interests. It keeps you more interested in your life. It keeps you more interesting to your partner, and it gives you that alone time that you need to maintain your mental and emotional health. So, find your personal passions. Might be painting, might be woodworking, it might be bodybuilding. And support your partner in finding theirs.
Thank you for the use of that slide.
I got
this one
something
here?
to say. No, not that one. You can stay here because I know she hates this. You can get off of it because I know Lindsay, so you can get off of that one. But I do want to speak to being the spouse of somebody that does bodybuilding. Yeah. Or any intense, or somebody that disappears, or whatever it is. Because there is great strength in that. I totally agree. And we have had to find the balance of it. But because we work hard to find the balance of it, it actually brings us closer. Right. So I think it's a weird scenario being like, oh yeah, go do this thing that takes so much time and effort and a lot of concentration and whatever, a lot of just him, but somehow it brings us close together. It is true. But you have to balance it. You have to communicate, and it does make him more interesting. Look how interesting you are.
Thank you, Maren. So this next segment we entitled Passions. This is vital to a successful retirement. I've run into peers. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. Keep in touch with the guys I went to school with. Some of them are afraid of retirement in their 70s. They're afraid of retirement because they have nothing to do. Well, they allow themselves, in my opinion, to get to that point where they have nothing to do. So the point of this photograph taken above Williams Yurt in the Sawtooth Mountains, annually we spend a few nights at a yurt at about 9,000 feet and get some great backcountry skiing in. The point of this slide is find activities that bring you joy, not activities you have to push yourself to do, but that just bring you satisfaction. You want to go back and tell your friends and spouse and family about. And what we want to press here today, since it's a couples conference, leadership conference, find activities that you can share. So let's just set a number. Becky and I decided to aim for establishing 5 interests or passions, two or three of which we share, and understand that you're gonna lose a few as time goes on. I don't know what this really says, but I feel like I'm losing a step every few years. Dan asked me last night, Buck, when did you feel the crescendo? When did you feel the tide begin to shift in your physical prowess? And I said age 57. I remember it. And then things start to slow down, slide, and you just incorporate that into your activities. But with passions, this window, I'm trying to keep this window of activity open as long as I can, even though it may not be to the level that I once enjoyed.
The other part about developing a number of interests and passions is that one of them might fall off. You may have to have knee surgery and can't ski anymore. But if you have something else in line that you can fall back on, so it's important not to just retire and thinking, oh, I'm just going to play golf every day. Because when you bust up your rotator cuff, you got to have something else to fall back on.
So here's one of us. We're hiking in Bhutan. We're hiking in Bhutan.
With Lou Whitaker at 80 years old with 2 new knees.
He had just gotten 2 new knees. So just to draw a circle around this, look at this happy couple hiking in Bhutan with noted mountaineers and Sherpa Gambu, who's been on Everest. He's the first man to ascend Everest twice in 1966. So this is a big trip. What is going through Buck's head at this point? It's not all, oh, we're having a good time hiking in Bhutan. This was 2008. As we left for this trip, Lehman Brothers failed. Everything was crashing. And so in the back of my mind, I'm just telling you, there's going to be some angst. This financial, this physical, this experiential element of retirement, it can all come crashing down on you when you least expect it. And it will.
And this is one time when we got back from this trip, Buck went back to work as a, what's that word for a fill-in dentist?
Locum tenens?
Locum tenens dentist, and got us through that 2008 downturn.
So we're going to show you these slides, which are snapshots of our lives, but in your head is still working. Okay, we need to make this work. And because we are a couple, I mean that in the sense that we talk to each other, we confer with each other, we plan with each other, we even designate times to sit down and say, uh-oh, we got to do something here. Something's got to change, and we cooperate. So this next one is a video, and it was taken 2 weeks ago in Bon Air, just to show one other activity. So I think you guys got it? Okay, great. This is just one more activity that we share.
And this one is weightless, so it doesn't hurt Buck's knees.
Yeah, there's a real advantage to scuba diving. I mean, I have a little sciatica and bad knees, but to be weightless and flying through the ocean looking at coral, it's another bonding experience. And to be able to figure out the contraption that you put on your back and around your waist and be comfortable is just a lot of fun. And another activity that we enjoy, earlier in our lives, we were both whitewater guides, rafting guides. And that's me in the back and Becky taking family, right, down the Salmon River. So the point of these slides is not to create a Buck and Becky show, but to just show you the diversity of opportunities that are there for your taking. But develop them now. Develop them while you're young. develop them while you have that interest.
And diversities of interests that we share, some of which we can fall back on when others fall off by the wayside.
I'm going to let Becky take this next slide after I introduce it. We got married 2 years ago, 2022. 3 years ago. Yeah, it's almost 3. Oh, 2.5. And our parents had already passed, so we got to call the shots. This is our wedding. We got to call the shots. And this is in Michigan, and this is how I made my entry on a paddleboard. My name Buck comes from Buchanan. This is a Buchanan kilt, authentic, and I arrived. I came. You know the answer to that. Good question, though. He asked, "What's underneath the kilt?" So
a little aside to this picture, Buck had originally thought he wanted to water ski into the wedding, and he went water skiing a little bit that summer and discovered he wasn't quite as adept as he used to be. And we decided that there was a good chance that he would end up at the bottom of the lake with 9 yards of kilt heavy wool anchoring him down. So we changed it to the paddleboard.
So this little bit of eccentricity on my part is to tell you that approach life, in retirement at least, like nobody's keeping score. This is you. You can be who you want. Don't regret. Somebody had a slide of the 5 situations people regret on their deathbed. Don't regret not being yourself, being able, because you have that opportunity. And what we've noticed is we enjoy being ourselves, and people can laugh at us and with us, but that's who we are. So go ahead and be yourself. Okay, Becky, you're up.
Okay, so I am talking about the mental and emotional aspect of retirement. So Buck made the transition pretty much seamlessly. He jumped in with both feet. The day he retired, he went online and he made a business card that said Buck Drew, DDS, parentheses, retired, professional recreationist. And he embraced that with gusto. I, on the other hand, was quite lost for a couple years after I retired. I had a hard time not having my days filled with responsibilities and my lists that I had to do that involved or that were related to running a business, and having employees that I had to keep track of and keep happy and manage. So maybe it was my Midwest worth ethic or my need for outside validation or something, but I didn't know how to let go of taking care of everyone else and figure out how to take care of me. I had to figure out how to let go of that mental load that I'd always carried to make room in my brain for whatever I wanted to do. So I spent a couple years volunteering with different organizations, thinking that I needed to be on a board of directors of some organization because that would be prestigious. I tried that, and that was totally not it. I'd spent my life being on boards of directors through my work, and I was done with that. And I realized, I don't need to be in the spotlight. I want to be the grunt on the ground making a difference. And so in addition to the activities Buck and I joined together, to my great surprise, I discovered that I enjoyed going door to door, knocking on doors and talking to people and advocating for change within the government, something I never, ever thought that I would do. So what I'm trying to get at here is that if you retire and you find yourself feeling a little bit at odds and off, be patient with yourself. For some people, it might take a little while to get your feet on the ground again and figure out what you want to do. And we have both found that just playing, just having fun, just adventuring isn't enough. We both needed to find something where we felt we were giving back. And we found that both in our volunteering in the dental missions, my volunteering here, and Buck will talk later about his big philanthropic mission. Is that all?
That's good.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Becky. We're going to move on to our final category that is pretty profound. It's titled financial. So let's start off with a picture. Let's start off with a photo. This was taken in 2005. Becky and I took a few months in southern France during July to follow the Tour de France. This, to us, is our World Series. We just really, we were taken by the U.S. Postal Service at that time and their success. They are working here through a small town, Saint-Jean, just on the other side of Galibier and the Col de Madeleine. And here comes, Becky and I are having coffee with our biking group. And these guys are good riders. They're younger than us, they're long-legged, and they're good. And to know that Lance, and well, just so you know, this is, yeah, there we go. This is Hincapie, Lance in the Maillot Jaune, the yellow jersey, and Floyd Landis. Look at the intensity. Look at where their pedal stroke is, 9-3, 10-4, 9-3. Look where their eyes are, their focus, their determination. Look at the success of that team in 2005. Okay, so this is Becky's photo. Everybody took photos that day. Becky was trying to work her camera at the last second, found sports mode, and really got a nice photo. So the U.S. Postal team is in sync in 2005. And again, as Lance wrote, he was a hero of mine. It's not about the bike. He wrote that book. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's not about the bike. It's about the focus. It's about the intensity. It's about the teamwork. And it's also not about the money. Retirement's not about the money. Now, 2005, let's go up a few years. And again, I hate to keep picking on 2008, but 2008 it is. The American Dental Association meeting in spring of 2008 was in San Francisco. I attended because guess who the keynote speaker was? Lance Armstrong. So my hero was speaking at the ADA convention in San Francisco. I had to hear him. I took that photo, printed it, and wanted to see if I get Lance's autograph on it. Fat chance. Well, look, I did. I got Lance to autograph it. That was so profound for me. This is the spring of 2008, before Lance appeared on Oprah admitting the doping scheme that he and his team committed during all 7 of their triumphs, and now you cannot even see that record in the Tour de France. A fallen hero. Okay, so that's significant. Things change. But what was also significant is I cannot help but remember there was a class given at that ADA meeting of financial experts, spring of 2008. Financial experts up here on stage discussing where the stock market's going, where the world economy is going. None of them had a clue. None of them had a clue of what was to transpond that fall with the beginning of Lehman Brothers failing and the banks failing and everything falling apart for about 4 years. Just the same way, I have no clue what's going to happen next fall, and neither do you. I'm just saying, be ready, be prepared, but we're here. You'll endure it. So that's my Lance story. He was a hero, and he fell, and I just felt horrible when he did. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty here. We're not going to tell you how to invest, but it's important to think of when I first was considering retirement, I thought it important to follow a wealth curve like this. Okay, these are your years on the y-axis, and wealth. The amounts don't matter. This is arbitrary, and the wealth on the x-axis. So what usually happens is you work for a period of 20 to 30 years, accumulate enough wealth to invest, and those investments keep paying off into your 80s and 90s. What a lot of people do, and what I thought I was going to do, was live off the dividends. But to do that, you needed enough principal to make it work. Enough principal to take 4 or 5% a year and live comfortably within your means. Am I right? Did some of you think like that? Go ahead.
And then when you die, you have all this wealth that you've accumulated that you haven't yet touched, which is how a lot of people function. They work, enjoy skimming off the top for the fruits of their labor, and then they die with all this money to pass on to their families, their charitable organizations, whatever. So we rethought that.
Just to let you know, Matt and Kyle came close to answering this question, but specifically, there's not a number. Don't think, oh, we have to achieve a certain. No, Becky and Buck thought we don't have to achieve a certain number because we didn't. I'm admitting that our methodology is not sophisticated. Is nothing close to Matt and Kyle's. We're not sophisticated. There is no number, although they were close, admittedly, with the 30-to-1 ratio of net worth over amount spent per year. We'll give you that 30-to-1 ratio. That's accurate for us. But I retired at 52, at the age of 52, without adequate savings. What I did retire with was an attitude and confidence that I could pull it off, that I could pull in the purse strings when I had to. So just understand, in order for this model to work perfectly, you're going to have to achieve a certain amount of wealth so that the dividends are enough that you're comfortable, right? And I know this is very elementary, but as I say, unsophistication can get you places. Now, this is a new curve that we're trying to achieve. This curve says, okay, earn your money as we did during our working years, allow your investments to mature, and then start spending down the principal. And by spending down the principal, it reflects on what Dan was saying last night. Allow your family to enjoy experiences with you, and not necessarily leave all of that built up reserve for when you die, for when you're gone. And we don't, the point we're making is we're not living off the dividends. A lot of our investments are in growth stocks that don't produce dividends, so we literally sell the stocks. And our goal, you'll see we're not achieving this, but I'll explain that later. Our goal is to start trimming down that wealth as we age. And notice too, last night we talked about the estate tax. Well, if your estate keeps dipping, you can avoid those problems too. Everything kind of comes together. Do you have anything to say on that, Becky?
One of our goals, or within our goal of depleting our accounts by the time we die, is to enjoy the fruits of our labor while we're alive and with our families and friends, rather than working hard all our lives, saving it up, and then letting them enjoy it. They can fly first class when we're dead. No, we're going to fly first class now, and we'll bring them along with us.
The next slide is going to show you why we're failing at this attempt. And by failing, I mean we're not reducing our principal. Enough. So this is, I took this off one of our portfolios, December 20, I got this. December 20, 2023, and I took this picture on December 20, 2024, so 2 months ago. So the amounts aren't important, but you see, this is January of 23 all the way almost to, do I have that right? Yeah, January 2024, sorry, to December 2024. So this shows the growth of our stock investments, our equity. They're mostly blue chip. But it also shows where we took distributions. Those are the dollar signs. Distribution, distribution, distribution. That's our income. The point is that as you age, from what I've learned from my peers and reading, you're not going to be able to spend down your principals as well as you think you can. And that's not every year. This is over 20 years, folks. Next year could be a whole different thing. Inflation could be out of control. But I'm just saying that even with our distributions, our net worth is increasing. And I tell you that with caution. I'm just sharing this information because I want you to feel, I want primarily my friends to feel comfortable that you can retire. Things will be okay in the long run. Yeah, there will be tough times. Do you have anything on that, Becky?
Nope.
Because here we go to the meat.
Just an observation. I think it's interesting to note that per the conversation last night with Matt Mulcock and Ryan Isaac regarding spending, just to note that you guys, and this is what I've loved about watching you guys in retirement, is you guys you don't skimp and save throughout the year. You do amazing things, you do fun things, whatever, you travel, but there are ways, like Matt was saying, he has to tell people, if you continue this spending trend, you will run out of money soon. So I think it's interesting to consider your spending, and I just think it's interesting that you can see somebody who travels, goes to Tour de France, does these bucket list items without going insane. And I think that's where we need to think about that balance, is where are we spending our money is. And if I'm not mistaken, it's probably a lot like the practice. There's probably a lot that goes maybe through unnoticed, maybe through memberships, maybe through whatever, these all these programs you sign up for, and then but I think it's interesting that careful monitoring of that allows you to live the life that is incredible. I mean, you guys have done some amazing things on such a not burying your head in your sand, right? You're not hiding from it, but you're experiencing it and showing it. I think this is a great example of the fact that you can do those sort of things. I think being careful of your spending habits, and you've talked about this too, like setting your goals to your spending habits and adjusting your spending habits to your goals. right? Rather than living frivolously and having all this money maybe go out the back door and not being able to achieve your living goals.
To that point, another thing that we have exercised in our life is that we realized that what the toys we own, we are not extravagant with those. We both ski on 20-year-old skis, 10-year-old skis, and they're just as fun as our other skis. We have 20-year-old cars. We, up until Buck retired, we lived in a very small, very modest condominium. And it wasn't until not until he retired, it was when he sold his office building, which was, 6 years ago, that we had this influx of cash and we bought the house of our dreams. But prior to that, we decided we would live our lives modestly so that we could adventure to this extreme.
Okay, here's another takeaway, and I hope I explained it well. But this next slide explains our philosophy in a visual manner. We call this cash, the euros. I forgot I have a pointer, okay. The euros is cash to croissants. This is our cash to croissants motto. You can't eat your investments. So the point of this slide is we converted, oops, sorry. We at some point you're going to want to take your portfolio and lay your cards down and get some cash. This cash represents a passport to a world we love in one of the worlds we love in southern France, in biking, and the croissant being like the national food in Aix-en-Provence and that part of the country represents our experiences. So we try as best we can to convert those lines that say, oh, you're like the graph I had just before, you're this wealthy. Take some of that wealth, convert it into experiences with yourselves, experiences with your families, like this summer. My children and my children and their spouses and our 4 grandkids, we are all paddling the Main Salmon River with a guide for 6 days. So turn your cash to experiences, to the croissants. Now, when we started out our retirement and didn't have the depth of wealth that we do now, we had another paradigm which was called taking the icing off the cake. So we tried to maintain our principle and just watch the principle accrue, and then we take the icing off and go do a big bucket list adventure. Early and so that's changed. I hope I'm making the point that early on we were being cautious, just taking the icing off the cake, the growth. Now we're eating the cake. And that's easier for me to say because I'm 70, okay? So you don't want to start eating your cake too soon, but I'm telling you, it's okay. You can eat your cake. Oh, I'm sorry. This is my granddaughter, Emily, and my daughter, Nicole, and my grandson, Chase. It looks like Chase is, 5? Yeah, anyway. So that's the family aspect of this. And speaking of family and pursuing this thought, here we are again on the beach on Lake Michigan with family. And the campfire is to illustrate warmth. And the idea behind this slide is you want to gift the idea of gifting works best with warm hands, not cold hands, not after you're dead. The warmth that you feel with the connections, with the family, with the relationships is best enjoyed while you're alive. So again, Dan, what you were saying yesterday, this gifting with warm hands is what we're after, and that will hopefully, if we begin to turn this ship around and start spinning at a higher level, we can gift more and more, which brings me to some final thoughts and discussion. The hardest thing, I know you guys, I was you, I know you. You are built to produce. You are trained to manufacture happiness with your patients and contentment with your staff. You are made to make money. You guys are all money makers. Matt, I think Matt was saying, you got to look out for the wealth tax. You're going to be so wealthy. You're on that trajectory. The hardest thing for you to do in retirement will be turning that around and not accumulating, but parsing it out in an intelligent, satisfactory manner. It sounds, oh yeah, if I had Buck's portfolio, I'd be spending it. Try it. It isn't easy because, we cling to our older cars. We don't buy a lot of new things.
We do splurge on mountain bikes.
We do splurge on mountain. But just challenge yourself and think about it. I'm just telling you, we're beginning to get that concept where it's okay to eat the cake, to spin down the principal, and to gift. But for professionals like us, where it's about collections, it's about production, year after year after year. That's your success. Try flipping it. It's hard, but it can be done.
Yeah, it's hard to change the mindset that our society has set to get more and more and more and more and more. It's hard to change that mindset to, okay, stop getting more, let go of it. That's a hard mindset to change.
So gift with warm hands, and I just want to share with you, not that it's relevant here, but I can't help it. One of my passions, what drives Buck? If you want to talk about something that drives Buck, I've started a seashore land wood-based preserve in northern Michigan. It started with 11 acres and a conservation easement, talking to my neighbors, and they too would donate their land in the form of a conservation easement. Then we got to buying parcels of property, 1 acre, 5 acres at a time. Last summer, I bought a 10-acre piece, and we're putting together this collective preserve. I took the name Drew out of it since this slide was taken. It's called the Portage Point Woods Preserve in northern Michigan, and it's now at about 200 acres. And I work with the Nature Conservancy of Michigan. I work with the Nature Conservancy of Idaho. Conservation's big in my set of values. And like Elevation Association with you guys, it's my passion. So I do have a driving passion that's leading to my legacy. And again, to wrap it up.
And part of this is he's leaving a legacy that he's here to enjoy. We
Right.
spend hours on this preserve riding our bikes or walking the shores. And here again, it's that gift with warm hands idea. Do it while you're alive so that you can enjoy and appreciate it. And you get a little kudos too.
Yeah, I hire local kids at about $12 an hour to help me rake out the trails. And then we go biking. And then just to wrap it all up, the takeaway I want you all to understand is the very fact that you all are sitting here, the very fact that you're curious, and that you have a dental practice, and that you care about your staff and patients, means you're all going to be successful with retirement. I can bet on that. you're too far along to fail. So take a deep breath. You'll be fine. And there's our bibliography.
These are some really great books that have given us good ideas, given us the confidence to make the decisions we're making. So, any questions, discussion?
I have a bit of an unanswerable question, but it's always on the back of my mind, and you probably have some experience with the wisdom you've picked up with yourself and with your peers, but it seems like there's an undefinable line when you're accumulating a nest egg. You don't know how many years you have that are worth spending on. So again, I know, like, gathering all of the experience that you've observed from your friends, how would you advise someone else to say? Because it seems like it's very easy to overshoot this both ways. You overspend at the beginning and you don't have enough to make it to the end, or you don't spend at the beginning and by the time you're ready to spend it all, you don't have any life that can spend it.
I think the only answer to that is remain adept on your feet. Be able to make changes. And that's what I'm telling you. Just like when you're faced with any certain emergency in the dental office, bring it on. I can deal with it. It may be a broken tooth. It may be endodontic access, but you have the confidence that you can deal with that challenge. And that's what we developed. Because yes, we could have over-participated in our portfolios early on and thrown that curve in a negative direction. And there is no perfect timing. I think we just have to be in the moment and take what looks best. Sometimes you have to go with your gut. Again, I want to encourage you to not be afraid, because we were not sophisticated, but we did have the confidence that we could pull in the belt when we had to, and open it up and be giving and philanthropic when we could afford to. I'm just saying, with your training, you're going to be just the same. You're going to be able to make lines on the calls, call plays on the line of scrimmage, because they're going to come up. The defense is going to look different. Does that help? Yeah. Any other questions?
Anything else? Discussion, comments?
You're all going to be
All
fine.
right, good. We got it all figured out.
Yeah, you're all good. Be on the other side.
Appreciate it. You're right, Jeff. That is the unanswerable question. It's just, it's always on everybody's mind. Appreciate your thoughts and Dr. Drew's, your experience, and for sharing that with us. A couple, pearls that I took away from that. Go into your retirement as healthy as you can. You had a quote that I may have butchered a little bit, but it said, "But you can only have time to take care of yourself if you have more time." And that was profound. I thought about that a lot. You have to make time during your time now. You have to do the things, whatever you can do within your business or your practice, to make more time, give yourself more time now to take care of yourself. And you can't do that if you overbook yourself. And you said, bank your health like you bank your retirement money, so you can always have something to draw upon. I love that. That was a great quote. So appreciate everybody coming and being here today. So now we have some time to do whatever you want to do. We'll meet back here at 4:30. Is that right? We're 4:30. Ryan's going to give a presentation, and it'll be a leadership presentation. He'll go through the steps of incorporating leadership and some leadership principles into your practice, going from base to the summit. It's going to be incredibly useful pearls that you can go home and take into your practice immediately. Then we'll have break for dinner, and then we'll have James Heaton and Michael Allen from Smile Trend present to us tonight on Practice Inspired.